2025. Thursday, not Friday. But I'm not superstitious about Friday the 13th anyway, so there we go. Hope you're not. But if you are, that's okay. That's up to you. Today's reading is once again from the Science of Mind magazine, The Daily Guides, and it's called Renunciation. The first quote is from an Ernest Holmes publication called This Thing Called Life, and it's on page 52, and it says, "We cannot doubt that there is an intelligence of the universe which can mold our affairs into shapes of harmony. Think good thoughts, add good feelings, and you will see good results," if you want to look at it that way. And this is also from Ernest Holmes, but in the Science of Mind textbook on page 454, he says, "People are to lose the small estimate of themselves, the isolated person, and find the greater reality, the incarnated and real ego, sometimes called superego, sometimes it's called the higher self. It's got different names, but he doesn't mean the day-to-day ego that drives a lot of wants and needs." And this is from Reverend Margaret Stortz. She says, "Oi, what a word. Unless we are among the devoted religious, we usually are not inclined to even review the idea of renunciation." What she's talking about here is that there are groups of people who decide to renounce the world and all its pleasures. Hermits, for instance, people who go into convents and monasteries and cut themselves off from the world. And the Buddha actually tried one of these paths, or maybe several of these paths, before he became enlightened, and he rejected it. He took a middle path. So this is what she's referring to here. She's referring to those people who renounce the world and the flesh. Okay? He goes on to say, if we did this, this would mean that we might have to give up some comfortable habits and behaviors. And even if desirable, this would take considerable effort. And then she goes on to quote from the Bible, from the New Testament, Christian scriptures, as it's called now. Jesus gave his followers a direction to become as little children, but we're so in love with our own thoughts that we do not, perhaps cannot do so. And she gives an example later on. To be childlike is to be fresh and open to what lies ahead, what possibilities can be explored. A small boy, my son, came home from school using a different route one day, which made him arrive later than usual. It didn't bother him in the least, but it gave his mother, Margaret, obviously no longer childlike, some proper fits. To renounce a habit or behavior does not have to be a negative connotation. In other words, we're not talking about renunciates anymore. It simply means letting go of a particular way of thinking or acting. The difficulty lies in the willingness or the unwillingness to do so, and the efforts of blowing out the hard corners of old habits. Nevertheless, we're always being confronted by change, and if we are open, true newness. If we do not take inner examinations regularly to see if we are missing something, we really might miss a valuable newness that awaits us. And since newness will always be with us, we might as well rush to greet it. So what she's saying is that it pays to have a good stop, examine where we are in the world, where we are with our thoughts and feelings, and also to be open to new stuff coming in. Because when we adopt the attitude that we're open to new things coming in, guess what happens? New things come in. It's true that when you decide to take a certain path and certain things are associated with it, then those things that are associated with it will show up. Example, if you decide that you want a new red car, guess what happens? You'll start seeing those kinds of new red cars everywhere. When people decide that they want to start a family, guess what they're going to see? Things related to babies everywhere. It's a common thing. There's actually an easy explanation for it. There is something called the RAS, the reticular activating system at the base of our brain. And what it does is it filters out everything that it thinks is unimportant to us, because if everything came in, we'd go crazy. So it filters out whatever it doesn't think is important. But then when something new comes along and we recognize that, then guess what happens? The RAS starts letting all this kind of information in. And it's the same thing when we're open to new ideas. If we declare and we actually practice being open to new ideas about ourselves and other things coming in, guess what happens? The RAS says, oh, that's important, and it lets it in. And you'll see things that were there always, but you didn't notice them because it had been filtered out. So that's my explanation of what's going on here. As usual, she tells us, I'm the place where God stands forth in the world as me. I'm the place where God stands forth in the world as me. The new one for today is, therefore, I am always alert to the new parts of me that are to be discovered. Therefore, I'm always alert to the new parts of me that are to be discovered. And we do this by contemplation, meditation, and just taking quiet time and being alert and listening to good stuff like this, reading good stuff, being companions with other people who are supportive and helpful, and just in general being open. So, Reverend Lisa will be back tomorrow at 9:15-ish. I'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, 5 o'clock should work. And right now, I am off to the gym to do some exercise. It isn't new exercise, but maybe I can approach it in a different way. So there we are. So until next time, please take care of yourselves. Enjoy this gorgeous weather if you live in this part of the world. If you live in the parts of the world where it's not great weather, stay safe, be calm. You'll get through it, and we'll see you next time. Namaste.